Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this extraordinary council meeting as we have one agenda item, which was a recommendation from the roading subcommittee, and it was needed to be decided on urgently, so hence this meeting this morning. First of all, we'll just go to apologies. So we have apologies from, I think, Councillor Cowles. Anyone else?
Sorry, Councillor McCone is apology. Councillor Cowles is here.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, right. Councillor Cowles made it.
I did.
Okay. So just Councillor McCone, is it? Okay. Someone move we accept that apology. Councillor Cowles and Councillor Hopkins. Those in favour, raise your hands. And against, that's carried. Are there any declarations of interest? There are none. So moving on to the report itself, item 4.1, recommendation of the roading subcommittee meeting held on the 11th of February, and hand over to whichever officer is going to be speaking to that.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Kircher. I'll just introduce this. As you have said, this is a recommendation from the roading subcommittee from their meeting on the 11th of February. This isn't a new topic and it's been around for a few years. So this is the opportunity to trial it and to determine whether it is successful. So during the period, there will be evaluation and to determine from businesses whether it's work from them and from the community, and we'll be looking at things like vibrancy in the street, the economic impacts, obviously traffic safety, car parking, all of those factors. So we will be actively surveying and evaluating, and pending success, we will come back to you to either look at extending the trial or maybe in the future making it permanent, but reports will come back to you on that topic. And I'll now hand over to Cindy.
Well, thank you. As Louise said in the introduction, and this plan has been, and a plan has been discussed for many years. You have seen this particular plan informally, and to progress the plan, we're looking at setting up on the evening of the 18th of February and finishing up in the morning of the 19th, and it will be fully installed by the end of the day on the 19th. We will have Whitestone Contracting doing the traffic management. And once that is set up and we're in place, then the site becomes operational. And as Louise said, we will be monitoring and doing evaluations on safety for everybody in the space and vehicles traveling through. We do have a comms plan, and that will ensure that we maintain regular communications to the community and council staff and yourselves. And any questions?
Just to start with, are we able to put up the plan on the screen just so that everyone can see it, both the ones on this meeting but also the ones watching live stream? Just gives us a bit more to be able to speak to, and I think people can see it when it's there. Okay, just while you're getting that done, we'll go to Councillor Ryan. If we can just use their online hand, so they that just helps push people to the front of the viewing line or queue of on the screens, so it's easier for me to see. So that's the wee yellow hand or whatever.
I can't get it. I can't find how to do it. So
we'll go to Councillor Ryan and then we'll go to you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Hey, I was just wondering whether you could go into a little bit more detail on the communication that you've had with the partner businesses on the street, and I guess anyone else who is going to be affected or in that area. Just there's been a bit of discussion about comms on it, so I was just wondering if you go into a bit more detail on exactly what communication you've had, and I guess the general feedback from those partner businesses.
Yeah. We have each of the project team were assigned one or two businesses to talk to them about the project, and also to work with them on the items they would want in their space and how they want to use the space. And that has been happening over the last few months as we've gotten closer to our design portion of the project. And I have reached out to all of the businesses myself as well, just to check in. Every single one of them are really excited. I spoke with Debbie from Taste just last week, because we want to be able to use the laneway as kind of a staging space, and she herself said she was very excited about it. We talked about any extra seating she may need. Oh yes, and we and even the bank, I've sent them the plans, and I wasn't able to speak to the manager face to face, but one of the staff, and then sent them the information, and she came back with that. They love the idea and can't wait to see it. The businesses north of the impacted area or the design space, I've reached out to them because we will be putting in some road marking, and I wanted them to be aware that that was going to change the look of the outside of their space. Again, all of them were quite fine with it. And I have had one business approach us who was quite negative. She's not on the street, but we have offered the opportunity for her to provide feedback once it's in place. We've also been talking with Kiwi Rail, as our original plan was to actually do a town center space, and right on the backs of Kiwi Rail project, that their timing changed, so we changed and altered our project in light of that. But we have maintained communications with them and ensured them that we were able to show that there is no real change in stacking of vehicles around the railway line, of which that's what was their concern. So, and then John and Comms has also been doing some communications with around the planter painting party and different aspects of the project.
Thank you, Cindy. As you're aware, I did have comments from Taste that they hadn't been spoken to, but as you said, you had spoken to Debbie the previous week. Had they been involved in discussions earlier than that, just to get an understanding of how comms have gone?
The businesses have, yes, they've been, again, the project team have been interacting with those businesses for many months. I'm off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you exactly how far, how many months, but it was early.
Taste was the first. Taste was the
Yeah,
first.
Taste was the first. They were our initial conversation that was had. And Jacob, and again, I would say it was probably mid last year.
Might be worth Cindy just outlining who's on because this is a community-led initiative. It might be just worth summarising who's been supporting you to bring this initiative to life.
Sure. So the people on the project team are Susan from Gillies, Kelvin from Creo, David Scherer from Patterson Pitt, Richard Scott, and recently come on board as Dougal Armour, Robin Hyde, who was our Alps to Ocean manager, and Mike Harrison. Both Mike and Robin have a great deal of experience in road management, road engineering, and that was kind of their speciality. And again, with Kelvin, he's a graphic designer, sorry, with Creo. So he was great to help us design the space, and each person has again added in their special skills. Gillies, obviously, they've been great with allowing us space to have our meetings, but also to provide parts and pieces, as you'll see in the actual design that we've been able to secure a number of items to use as seating that are made at and owned by Gillies. We've also got external partners with Miter 10, Men's Shed, who designed the planters, made the planters, and Miter 10 donated all the wood and the materials. And they've been really great about providing us with really cost-effective pieces, materials, supplies in order to bring this project to light.
Thank you. Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kircher. Look, I've got a couple of questions. Had an email last night from a resident who indicated or felt there was growing concern on social media channels and wanted some questions asked and answered. I think I know the answers to some of them, but it would, if there is growing concern and we can allay it, then it would be a good thing, I think. The first concern is about reduced parking. My understanding is we've been told that there will be no loss of parks. Is that correct?
That is correct. There will be no loss of parking.
If I could just go through the other questions.
Just on that topic, Councillor Hopkins, so I did have a question myself, and that's really around the traffic management plan, because what we've seen other times with traffic management is by the time they get signs up and so on, they actually take up other parks in the area. Is that we've got a separate map showing traffic management? Is that for the whole duration of the trial, or is it just to set up?
It's just for the setup. There will be, which is not on this map, but the signs will be reduced for the operational portion of the project. So it does not look like a road construction site. It will look like just everyday business as usual.
Yeah, and I think it's just important to acknowledge that, you know, we really need to minimise any impact on parking there. It's
agreed.
You know, if there is an impact on parking, you know, even if it's not in the area of the trial itself, but around it, then we need to acknowledge that or minimise it. Councillor Hopkins, your next one.
Well, again, I was mildly surprised by this one, but apparently there is concern because some people are worried about an absence or a lack of shelter because the area is a wind tunnel. Now, having done tours down there, I'd have to say that I hadn't identified that particular part of town as the south end of Thames Street as a wind tunnel. But has this been a matter that you've taken into account or designed for in any way, Cindy?
We have taken wind and sun and the weather in general into account. It will be part of our evaluation and the monitoring of the site. So if there are, and we are hoping that we have that ability to shift and move a few of the pieces to make it more comfortable. Keep in mind that the planters are of a height and we will position them so that they can help to create somewhat of a wind barrier for people sitting down and using the space.
Okay, look, the other, in terms of safety concerns, somebody has expressed an anxiety about a play area close to the railway lines. What particular precautions have you built into the trial to address or avoid, remedy or mitigate any safety concerns?
Again, planters will be one of those elements. We also have a number of large plants that were donated to us from the film crew, and those will be placed and used as barriers to block off, especially that section from the end of the AstroTurf to the rail line. We will, in essence, make a more confined pedestrian space, much more so now than what there is now, and define so that there is a real, like almost just a 2 meter space available for people to walk across the rail lines and not walk through the project space onto the railroad tracks.
Thank you. Look, one last question then. assuming that this were made permanent, and I'm not presupposing that, but there is some anxiety that if it was made permanent, there would be difficulties doing road maintenance or erecting the Christmas tree. Would you imagine that that is an issue or potentially an issue? Should this extend beyond 6 weeks?
We don't anticipate it would be an issue. And I think like with every issues that are brought up, one, it is great feedback to hear and things that we can work through to make sure it's not an issue. Because we don't know if it is made permanent, if this is actually the size of it or the design of it. So we would work through all those regular activities that happen on the street, so there's not a negative impact on those.
Thank you.
I just think it's probably worth just highlighting the thinking from the team is we do the first trial in one end of Thames Street, but we then continue the trial into other parts of Thames Street up to the State Highway intersection, so that we can really evaluate what's working, what not, and then there'll be we can recommend what permanent changes might be most suitable. But this is just the community-led initiative, which is in the lower end of Thames Street. So I think it's exciting, and the opportunity through the trial is just to keep adjusting and correcting and changing and putting new things. If we get some feedback around wind and we need to put some more windbreaks in, you know, that's something we can do and measure the impact. So it is a trial, and I think it's an exciting opportunity for us to just try something new to move Thames Street forward, so that we do create more vibrancy and support businesses and residents to enjoy the space.
I just got one other question, which is again around safety, and another one that was raised by the within the community, and that was around emergency services and just the access through that area. Now, the positive is that there is still access through their normal times, so that shouldn't be an issue itself. But have we talked to emergency services?
I have reached out to them, and I haven't had a conversation with them, but I will be doing that today. And we do want to have them walk the site now that we've got that final design completed, and we're all happy with it. We will walk through the site, but we have had conversations with the people who are building to make sure that there is access to the fire hydrants and that we mark them so that they know that they're visible and easily accessible.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we're at a point in time we're looking to see whether anyone wants to move either the recommendations or any alternative motion.
Gary, I can't get a flag up, so can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
I'd just like to know, is there some estimate of ongoing costs to maintain this area?
The cost for the trial or the cost to maintain? As a trial, the budget is 60K, and maintenance is, again, will be quite limited, but we won't need that much level of maintenance. Plant watering is really going to be the bulk of it, and again, through the monitoring and evaluation, we can assess. Yes, and the funding is coming from Better Off funding. The ongoing, if we do decide that we, or is a decision made to have it longer or make it more permanent, we would start with Better Off funding. Again, phase 2 would still be under Better Off funding. And as stated in the roading subcommittee meeting, we would bring all costings in a report to council.
And probably worth mentioning, Councillor Percival, that this is a catalyst project that's also identified in the Central Oamaru Master Plan. So if it is something that we'd want to be making permanent, then we'd be thinking about the implications for the LTP longer term.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions, is someone willing to move?
As chair of the roading subcommittee, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move the recommendation, although I will point out it wasn't a unanimous decision by the subcommittee, so there is a variation of opinion within council as well as the public. but staff have put a reasonable amount of work into this, and I believe that we need to support them and support the trial with the assurance to the public that nothing is set in concrete, that once the evaluation has taken place, we'll be able to offer a slightly more informed opinion as to whether it's going to become permanent or not.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just reading some of the group chat. Councillor Ryan, are you?
I was just happy to second that.
Okay. Right. Okay, speakers to the motion. Councillor Ryan.
Look, this is a trial. It's been supported and pitched by the community, and there's great partnership and collaboration opportunities here. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think we're basically it's government money, so why not give it a go?
Thank you. Any other speakers? Probably just reiterate what Councillor Ryan has said. That is a trial. It has been driven as much as it's been originally a council proposal previously. This version has been driven by a more community group. It's using better off funding, which one of the uses for that was placemaking. This is very much about placemaking, and I think it's an opportunity to test out some of the theories. If they come to nothing, then that may be the case, but if you don't try these things, then you don't actually know whether they're going to work or not. I think there's been some pretty good engagement overall. Obviously, more conversations happening with emergency services, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to make holding some events that bit easier if this type of thing is put in place in the longer term. But at the moment, it's just let's try it and see how we go at a scale that should actually benefit everyone rather than disadvantage them. So I'm certainly going to be voting in favour. Any other speakers?
Yeah, I've got my hand up if that's okay.
Yep.
Look, echoing your thoughts, Gary. If we don't move ahead and try some new stuff, we're not going to know how good it is. Currently travelling through the North Island, been through a number of townships in the last 12 or so hours that have all done some stuff around their main towns, and it's very cool to see these community spaces being developed to be used and attract people in for retail. We know that retail is a tough gig in today's world, so anything that we can do to encourage some more people around and stay longer, as mentioned, it's a trial, so if we don't try, we don't know. So that would be my view. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Haley.
Thank you. Through the chair, very supportive of this trial. It's only for 6 weeks, so I think if we don't try new things, we won't be able to see what the different opportunities are. And also just wanted to acknowledge those volunteer, community groups that have put a lot of effort, into it. And if it doesn't go ahead, what will that mean for them as well? So I think, there's no harm in trying and testing things. So to those naysayers out there, then, I think they can be a bit open-minded about trying new things. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Sorry, I'm just flicking through trying to see other hands up. I've got Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, look, if I may, just very briefly, I echo and endorse the sentiments of other councillors, and I would actually emphasise the fact that this was something that grew out of the engagement of local residents, local people, at some of the meetings about revitalising Thames Street. This was their idea, and they have owned it and developed it and shaped it. The other point we're getting back. There has been issues again raised about, oh, you should be spending the better off funding on other things. My concern about some of the community views on this matter is that they misunderstand what the previous government did. It stipulated what better off funding could and should be used for, and it expressly said you can't use this money that we're offering you to pay for things that you'd already included in your budget. In other words, you can't take an item out of the budget and use government money to replace it. And the argument is some councils have done that. Well, if they have, then in fact they have abused the fund, and central government has abandoned its duty of care to rate taxpayers anyway by not seeking a refund from them or compensation. I mean, we used the monies provided as it was stipulated that they should be used. And from that point of view, I don't think it's entirely reasonable to criticise us for actually not doing something illegitimate that perhaps some other councils did. So I just, in respect of better off funding generally, I would just make that point.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Councillor Thompson, do you want to wait for Rod to reply?
Yeah, no, that's fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Holding.
Sorry, I got cut off there. I'm not sure what point you got to there. I just had sort of one more question around Cindy. You mentioned the Kiwi Rail project, and Mike, you're with us doing roading there. Have in any discussions has Kiwi Rail put any pressure? Are they happy with the status quo of that crossing, how it is, regardless of this project? Has there been any discussions around that?
Do you want to speak to that, Mike? I'm going to have Mike Harrison speak to that.
Good morning all. Kiwi Rail had a project where they have to reconstruct the level crossing through across Thames Street. They've had to pull back on that for internal reasons for their ability to do it. So that is coming up, but even as late as Friday, we received a message from Kiwi Rail around what they would prefer, and they are looking around how they reduce the risk on the railway crossing, and they would like to reduce the number of their preference, and what they will move towards, is reducing the number of lanes crossing the railway line and bringing them to closer width so that they can have barriers, electronic barriers that actually cover both pedestrians, motorists at the same time. They will be coming with something closer to what we already have, what we're proposing here. There is no timeline from Kiwi Rail at this stage, but we expect it probably in the later 26 year, potentially.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Okay, if there's no one else, we'll go to Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Kircher. Look, one of the points that I was going to articulate, Councillor Hopkins beat me to it around the better off funding. This is not an example of bloody-minded councillors sticking their finger up at public opinion, as some would suggest. This discussion has been ongoing for a number of years, and I would much rather try and fail than not try at all. Therefore, I believe that we need to support this proposal and get on with trying to encourage a revitalisation of that and other areas of the town.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Those against?
I'm against.
That's carried.
I'll vote recorded, please.
Thank you, Councillor Percival. Okay, with that, that's our only agenda item, and so thank you very much everyone for attending this at relatively short notice, and hopefully it's been informative for the community. We'll look forward to seeing the trial proceed, and just see how it goes. It's the reality of the situation. So with all that, thank you very much to staff for the work that they've done to this, and just echoing Deputy Mayor's thanks to community volunteers who have been part of this as well. Their time and efforts have been appreciated. With that, we'll declare the meeting closed. Thanks very much.
Thank you.